Hello, I'm Kelly Sullivan, head women's cross country and track coach at Oregon State University.
And I'm Carolis, Director of Athletics at Oregon State University. And we're here to tell you about extraordinary vision and development for our women's track and field cross country program and the possible return of the men's program.
It's called Oregon State University's Track and Field of Dreams.
Its purpose is to position both the men's and women's program to be highly competitive in the Pac-10 Conference, the Conference of Champions, and by doing so, will be highly competitive nationally. The Field of Dreams plan is composed of 4 components, 3 of which will build a first-class facilities for our student athletes to compete in the conference. The 4th component would be an endowment fund set up to ensure the long-term life of the men's program. But before we roll out those details, a little history lesson would be helpful.
As you may remember, in the late 80s, Oregon State dropped both the men and women's programs because of budgetary issues. With the success of the men's football team at the Fiesta Bowl, the athletic department was able to raise funds to build the Truax Indoor Center, which was built on the former softball field. Needing a new home, it was determined to build the softball stadium on part of the site that was the former Wayne Valley track and field facility.
In 2002, the NCAA changed the sports sponsorship requirement for Division I football schools and raised the minimum number of sports to 16. OSU at the time only had 15, plus was deficient in some of its numbers for Title IX compliance. The department formed a committee to look at what sport or sports would be feasible to add. After studying the pool of talent in this state and the Northwest, it was determined in a landslide vote that women's track and cross country would be added.
So you may ask yourself why the idea of adding men's cross country and track at this time. For the exact same reason why Oregon State added the women's program 4 years ago. The in-state talent opportunities in the Northwest, but also with the addition of adding a women's program, it's given us an opportunity to bring back another men's program with scholarships at this time.
Let's now take you through the 4 components that we mentioned earlier.
Component A, construction of the track, Phase 1, $3.5 million. As you can see from the drawings, the site of the track resides to the south of the existing soccer stadium. The pros of this location is that it is in the heart of the athletic complex, flanked by the soccer and softball stadiums, and provides adequate parking. The con is that the existing fields are owned by campus intramurals, which causes some short-term challenges. Currently, intramurals have 3 fields on the site, and athletics has 1 for varsity soccer practice. In their long-term master plan, these fields would be vacated as intramurals turns the current recreational areas just north of the tennis courts in artificial turf fields. In the meantime, however, we must make intramurals whole for the short term. As you can see, we will build a 9-lane track with all the runways, pits, and jumps. Along with this will come an artificial turf field for varsity soccer practice and lights for intramurals. Additionally, to the north, we will build a grass field lighted for intramurals that will eventually become the hammer throw area. When it's all finished, this will be one of the finest track and field facilities in the Northwest and in the nation.
Component B, endowment for men's program, $5 million. Before we commit to adding the men's program, a total package must be presented to the president of the university for approval. The athletic department has commissioned a task force to look at the feasibility of adding men's track and cross country. Their preliminary finding as it relates to Title IX is that we could add the sport and grant 5 scholarships. In order to ensure as best we can the long-term life of the men's program, the athletic department proposes an endowment of the operating expenses of the program. As an aside, this is the model for wrestling, as they have endowed all of their tuition scholarships. As you can see from the illustration, the athletic department will be responsible for the salaries of the coaches and the room and board portion of the scholarships. The university would support 5 tuition waivers. That number from a Title IX perspective can go up in the future as the NCAA approves additional women's scholarships to other selective sports. The endowment would handle the rest, i.e. travel, recruiting, equipment. As you can see, a tentative timeline would be to hire a coach in the summer of 2010 with the team active in the fall of 2012. In that scenario, the following timelines would have to be met in order for us to endow the program and to show the university the financial commitment necessary. Obviously, if funding became available earlier, hence an earlier start. Likewise, a protracted fundraising effort would push back the reinstatement of the men's program. Component C, construction of a national competitive cross-country course, $1 million. As Kelly and I talked about the vision for the program, it was obvious that from a facility perspective, it would be impossible to challenge the equity and history of Hayward Field. So how can we be different and form our own identity and niche? We determined that the core of this program needs to be cross-country and the middle and long-distance events in track. As that becomes solidified, we would add the other events. In order to fulfill the strategy of cross-country, a course would be the solution to host high school, Pac-10, NCAA regionals, and eventually NCAA national championship events. No such course exists west of the Rocky Mountains. Initially, an area inside of the Benton County Fairgrounds looked like the perfect spot. However, with the county, city, and 2 private landowners to work through, it proved to be its undoing. Our requirements are to find a parcel to own or lease with 50 acres of fairly open space and gently rolling lands.
Component D, construction of track Phase 2, $3.5 million. Phase 2 will add all the amenities to the track area, i.e. pedestrian pathways, permanent seating for up to 1,000 spectators, storage areas, track hall of fame, plaza and entryways, and parking enhancements.
So what are the next steps? Doug Oxen, our Regional Director of Development, will be the point person for this project, and he will be soliciting your help, both as a volunteer to identify potential donors and hopefully to donate to the project. So we hope you can get involved.
It's an exciting time to be a Beaver. It's an exciting time to be a part of our new track and field and cross-country programs here at Oregon State. We're going to ask you to get on board, get excited, and be a part of the dream that we have, that we know all of you want to be a part of.
The facility will be located on the corner of 15th and Philomath Highway. As you can tell, it's a 9-lane IAAF, NCAA sanctioned track and field facility. Just south of the current men and women's soccer fields, women's softball field, and just east of the new Hilton Garden Hotel. Reconstruction of the parking lot would be done. One of our goals is to have a tremendous entryway into the stadium, giving spectators, alumni, and athletes a wonderful O factor as they walk through the doors. You can also tell that it's handicap accessible with 2 high jump aprons. Another one of our goals is to remember the great history here at Oregon State in track and field. We'll be able to do this with the construction of our seating, which will hold 1,500, and again is handicap accessible. The Little Brick Stadium on the back side is where we'll put our Hall of Fame, an opportunity for us to recognize and remember our All-Americans, our American and world record holders, former Olympians, some of our great teams, some of our great stories, and also remember former head men and women's track and field coaches. What a great location, what a great opportunity, and what a wonderful way to bring back a tremendous history here at Oregon State in track and field. This is a ground level view of the track. It'll be 9 lanes. It's IAAF and NCAA sanctioned. You also see the double runways for the long jump and triple jump, press box. The stands are set up that in the future we could actually increase the attendance. We will have lights, a wonderful hillside, trees surrounding most of the track. You'll be able to run both the 100, the 200, and high hurdles for men and women in both directions. We'll have straightaways on the backstretch also. This is the site plan. As you can see on the infield, it'll be field turf, which nowadays that you can throw the javelin and the discus on, and also is regulation size for soccer. Lower corner is a distance pavilion in the stadium. Over to your right, you'll see the hammer facility. You'll see the discus rings. This is another view coming into the stadium. The discus ring to your right. You see another one on the other end of the facility. There's also a javelin runway. We will also have a state-of-the-art scoreboard. We'll be able to run competitions in the evening. This facility will also be available for the community, students on campus, and other varsity teams.